What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. Today we got the OG Corey Holcomb, and he's discussing a very trending topic right now, and that's OJ Simpson and the reaction to his passing from, well, you know who. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get right into the content.
Man, goddammit, we out here. Anyway, yeah, yo, man, did y'all hear that story about that lady who stabbed her boyfriend? Was it her husband? She stabbed the man in the heart.
Were you talking about the lady on the 405?
Got on the 405, yeah. You heard about that?
I heard about it. I heard.
Threw the little baby out.
Right. The baby lived.
One of them.
The older
One of the
did.
babies.
The
did.
little
Okay.
baby died.
That's
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Hey.
And then she ran into a tree and killed herself, I heard.
Glad she gone.
I say this about stuff like that, man. Insane females have a real advantage over most because nobody expect them to do what they go do.
Yeah, they get grace.
They get what?
They get grace. Women get grace
Because
when
they're
they don't
female.
deserve it.
Goddamn right.
Because they're
We
female.
gotta earn
Deep.
grace.
What you saying is deep. That's why it blew my mind when you said it. They get grace off GP, don't they?
Oh yeah. Well, a woman could ruin any woman could ruin any man's life for a period of time. Cause no matter what she say, no matter how off kilter, how deep in it is, people gonna give her the benefit of the doubt because especially black men, because we viewed as predators and we always start in a hole, we gotta climb our way out.
Were they black?
And you be damn near destroyed before people want to accept the truth. That's what happened to OJ.
I mean, I know that about OJ. Nobody ever understood. I mean, like, the bitch was at his house with another dude.
Worse than that. You want to know? I found out some shit about the OJ case 2 days ago that I bet y'all don't even know.
Give it to me.
Do you know who Glenn Rogers is?
He lived.
Glenn Rogers, better known as the cross-country killer, was Nicole Brown Simpson's handyman.
What do you mean?
He was her handyman was a serial killer. He was convicted. He killed 4 blondes. He was convicted of killing 4 blondes. That was his thing. He was from Ohio. He was her handyman, which means he was at her house a couple times a week. Y'all look it up if you think I'm bullshitting. His name is Glenn Rogers, known as the cross-country killer or the Casanova killer. He was convicted of killing 4 people 4 women in 1995, and during the time of the murders, and for years before that, he was her handyman.
And they never knew.
And they
any of that.
never brought that shit up in the media.
Well, they painted her as a victim in the media. Like, she wasn't known as the bust down she was.
She was a bust down for sure. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like her father was on there crying and stuff. He never said I lost control of her. And because if she was on, I mean, like, we know why she was with OJ. OJ had paper at the time. You dig what I'm saying? No, I believe you, Craig. I believe you. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You know, OJ passed, and you know what I'm saying? They made jokes about OJ, and I don't believe OJ was no saint at all. But the grace the woman received was unfair, if you ask me.
Definitely.
But that's pretty much in. Excuse me. That's pretty much in all lanes. I watched it go down with my own parents. So.
What do you mean? Give an example, D.
Well, because every time we call, if there was a big fight or argument, it didn't last very long because he left. Thank God. You know, by the time I was 5, but. Anytime we would call to get help or report, they would always take her side. She was the instigator. She was the one that would do it. We watched it, so the lady always gets off. Actually, you know what? I think I've seen that picture before.
His brother.
Oh, that one. I've seen that
His
one.
brother told the police, my
Wow.
brother murdered Nicole Brown Simpson. He admitted to me he murdered her, and he actually admitted to murdering her.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait. First of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
But the narrative was already spun, and they were making so many billions of dollars selling this false narrative about OJ at the time that they weren't interested in anything but OJ slander. Then I watched some shit the other day. You got to watch when you get to the crib, Corey. After he was found innocent, I don't know if y'all remember, OJ did a 3-hour documentary where he went over all the evidence in the case, himself, and walked you through it, where they found it in the crib. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was weird to see him in this state because as a 41-year-old man now, I now see, all that nigga had was really his reputation. So even though he knew he didn't do it, he was still trying to salvage his reputation because he was, I would say he was naive enough to think that people wanted the truth. They didn't give a fuck about the truth. They just cared about the story. And it's just weird how we thought a not guilty verdict as black people, we thought that was enough. We really should have stood by that dude's side and really fought with him after that because they tried to ruin his life. They tried to ruin his kids' lives. And it's just fucked up because I was under the assumption that he was guilty for years. You know what I'm saying? But when you really research the case, it's fucked up. We watched the nigga get railroaded, and he really didn't do this shit.
It's weird when we talk about cases and stuff like that because slanderers on the internet was saying, Corey is trying to take up for something that R. Kelly did.
Right.
And it's very frustrating that slanderers get to say stuff like that. I had R. Kelly talking on the show because one day it's going to be more popular amongst our people. It's called the RICO law. When you live in the United States of America, you can be put in jail for nothing and they'll figure it out later on.
You're goddamn right.
Just remember, Corey wasn't about no justifying fuck shit like the slanderers put out there. In the United States of America, you can be put in jail for nothing and they'll figure it out later on.
That's real.
It's called a RICO law. They will just grab you off the street and lock your ass the fuck up. Mm-hmm. That's what I was trying to bring people awareness. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, I thought of that when you was talking about OJ because people gonna be saying, "Oh, Craig taking up for OJ and all that shit." They don't. The average mind doesn't care about what's wrong or right.
Nope.
They care about what's popular.
The average mind, they get locked into shit. For me as a man, I'm about logic and I'm about facts. So if I believe something to be true and the right logic and facts is prevented, I am going to change my opinion as long as the facts and the logic are credible. You know what I'm saying? For most things. For most things. And in this situation, I'm one of the people who just assumed that he was guilty. But there's other things that happened as well that I had no idea about that they didn't talk about in the media. OJ was on a plane to Chicago at a time when Nicole was still alive and on a phone call with her mother. But they sealed the phone records for 75 years.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
So we can't see the actual phone records proving, you know what I'm saying, that he was on a flight to Chicago and she was on a phone call with her mother. Then the police were caught trying to change the time of the murder. They tried to change the murder to 10:15, and the murder happened a lot later than that because they were trying to make the murder occur at a time when they knew OJ would be in town. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just a lot of shit. But the thing that strikes me the most is the serial killer thing. If somebody was on this show working for you that was a serial killer and somebody came up dead, that would be the number one person of interest to me.
The only thing that throws me off with all that though is that he killed. Then it was a guy and her because the guy was there too and got murdered.
Okay, autopsy. I didn't know this part. They make it seem like when they were murdered that somebody just stabbed them up.
No, it was like
That wasn't how the murder
were
took
slaughtered.
place. They had torture cuts on their body, which means somebody cut them in places where they could bleed out and tortured them before they actually slit their throat. And a lot of people have the Colombian necktie thing as well. I don't know if that's true because I haven't seen the photos, but if somebody is seasoned enough as a killer to cut you to where it could torture you, meaning if you move, you'll bleed out more, both of them had torture cuts. Then on top of that, the restaurant that Goldman worked at, a few of his co-workers were murdered the same way before he got murdered.
Boy, ain't no way.
And it was a drug hangout for cartel members, like Colombian cartel members.
That's too
So there's a
crazy.
lot of stuff that they didn't talk about in the case. And then look, I know niggas that have beat up bitches, but to murder the woman and the dude the way that they were
All of a
murdered,
sudden, years later,
that
he wasn't even with her.
Yeah, that wasn't no domestic violence. You know, OJ, if he would have beat her to death, knocked her out, she hit her head on something. The motherfucker who did this this is what they do for money. This ain't no, you know what I'm saying? This is what they do for money. Then on top of that, she had a dog, an Akita. Akitas are very aggressive attack dogs. The dogs didn't bark. So that means the dogs were familiar with whoever committed the murder. If a fucking serial killer was her handyman, that means he was around the dog all the time.
Oh, golly, Craig. You kind of,
I mean, yo, like when you give this information, Craig, nothing shocks me. I don't go off what television says.
Hell no!
and especially older stuff, because back then too. Now you can really find out stuff, unearth some things that we wouldn't have back then, but now with internet and stuff. But
Yeah.
it's easier to be a sleuth. You know what I'm
Everything
saying?
on the news is fuck shit. People look at these wars and all this shit. You're not getting the information you need.
Nope.
All right, y'all. So it sounds like Craig Fax did some research on that. I do remember the whole OJ situation, but I was a kid at the time. I remember the whole truck chase. A lot of this stuff I never heard. We all remember like Johnny Cochran and the glove and all of that. It's interesting the stuff that Craig brought out again, because I had never heard of it. I'm sure a lot of people had never heard of it. The whole Glenn Rogers, the serial killer aspect. But one thing that he did say that I really want to touch on is that if you live in America, America is not a country that cares about the truth, if you're right or if you're wrong. First and foremost, they care about money and power. So if it made them more money to drag a brother's name through the mud, then so be it. And that, which I can agree with, is the premise to say, hey, we making so much money off these tabloids, newspaper storylines, then let's just go for that and go about the money if that's the case. And then the other part of it I want to mention is how the whole racial aspect, where people were like, he's a black man and they're trying to destroy him. And then OJ not associating himself with black people like a lot of, rich people have a tendency to do. You got that aspect of it. And then it being two white people that were killed. But at the end of the day, I don't really know. Like I said, I was a kid when all of this went down and I didn't comb through and do the research. But I feel like what Craig said was very interesting. And it's something that we should all look into just to see. But RIP to OJ, I pray that his children find some kind of peace, because I know that they going through hell with him being deceased now. And then I've been reading some articles talking about how OJ, whoever is over his estate, wants to make sure that Goldman family don't get no money. So it's a hot mess, but Hollywood, they get down differently, move differently than us average everyday people. But y'all leave me a comment. Let me know if you are aware of the information that Craig Fax brought out in this clip. Until the next time, I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace out.